Good afternoon, welcome to Craven Park, Barrow, here for the Northern Rail Cup tie between Barrow Raiders and York City Knights. We'll just have a quick run through the teams. The Barrow Raiders at fullback Andy Ballard, in the backs Mark Dixon, Ned Katic, Liam Harrison, James Nixon, half-backs Jamie Rooney and Liam Campbell, and the forwards Jamie Thackeray, Mark Gleeson, Matt James, Martin Osler, Richard Fletcher and Zeb Luisi. An interchange, Nathan Mossop, Brett McDermott, Michael Knowles and Adam Nicholson. And for the York City Knights, who are now out on the field, James Haynes at fullback, Danny Wilson, Dwayne Stroffer, Matty Garside and Dave Sutton. At halfback, Chris Thorman and John Presley. Props are Ben Jones and Nathan Massey, hooker Jack Lee, John Davis, Ryan Esders in the second row, Alex Benson in the unaccustomed role at loose forward, and on the bench Jack Stearman, Ed Smith, Matt Barlow and Lee Waterman. The referee today is Richard Silverwood, and it's a cold, blustery, wet sort of a day here at Craven Park. A decent crowd in the ground, and Richard Silverwood there handing the ball to Jamie Rooney, who's going to make the start for the Barrow Raiders. And they'll be playing into a pretty strong wind here, so we'll see what happens from the kick-off. Jamie Rooney gets us underway, and straight away you can see that ball is heading back towards the Barrow Raiders players. Fullback Andy Ballard takes it in well and then makes a break up the middle of the field, caught by John Presley. And that's Mark Gleeson offloading to Jamie Thackeray, the former Great Britain international. He's well held there in centre field. Underdogs today, the York City Knights in this game, 16-1 outsiders with some of the bookies. We'll see what sort of a fist they make of it. Here's Mark Gleeson, first real attacking move of the game. Liam Harrison, big strong centre there, brother of Ben Harrison of the Warrington Wolves. James Nixon to Jamie Rooney and Martin Osler. Caught again by the York City Knights defence. Mark Gleeson and Jamie Rooney goes for the kick to the corner, and that's again drifted away on this wind and gone into touch. That'll be head and feet to the York City Knights, just inside their own 20 metres. A little bit of conversation going on there between the referee and the Knights front row. John Presley, former Keighley Cougar, putting the ball in, and a little offload, but once again not too much progress there, and likely to see defences on top. It's not easy out there, it's pretty greasy, and not great playing conditions, to be honest. Jack Lee flips the ball up to John Davis, who's coming on loan from Castleford Tigers for the York City Knights, wearing number 30 today. Likely to be a forward battle in the conditions. Kicking's not going to be easy for any of the players. And there we are, that's Chris Thorman. He pops a good one downfield, turns the Barrow Raiders fullback James Nixon around, and then he slips on this surface. Restricts his ability to get downfield. Andy Ballard to Ned Katic, the big Aussie. Barrow come forward again, and that's Matt James, the Welsh international. Had a spell at Harlequins last year. Gleeson again, trying to keep this ball moving very quickly, and that's Richard Fletcher making an impact there, getting the Barrow Raiders up to the halfway line. Jamie Thackeray again, well held by Alex Benson, the York City Knights skipper. Gleeson to Rooney, and another kick. And that's well taken by Dave Sutton, the York City Knights winger. He's then caught by loose forward Zeb Luisi. James Haynes, the fullback, coming up to try and help his forwards out, take a little bit of the pressure off. Good to see the fullbacks and wingers coming in for some work. And there's York's other signing this week from Castleford Tigers, that's Nathan Massey. Jack Lee fends off a challenge there, but then has to go to ground under the tackle of Mark Gleeson. John Presley to Alex Benson. York City Knights up to the halfway line. Jack Lee goes right there too. Ben Jones flips the ball backwards, pretty untidy, and James Haynes tidying up. He puts another kick in once more behind James Nixon. Winger does well. Spent most of the season out last year through injury, broken arm, and hardly played a game at all, but back to fitness now, and he'll be looking to add to the 29 tries he scored in 2009. Martin Osler trying to get the Barrow Raiders away from their own line. And offside. York just coming up a little bit quick with that defensive line and being caught. Caught for offside by referee Richard Silverwood. Jamie Rooney with the kick to touch. We'll see whether he tries to keep this one under the wind a bit. No confident enough he was going to get it into touch from probably 15 metres infield. Gleeson to Osler again. A former Doncaster player. Looking busy. And there's Matt James driving the ball up. Jamie Rooney with another kick. Again, sort of hangs in the wind, and the York City Knights fullback James Haynes very competent under that one. Winger Dave Sutton just eluding what may well have been deemed a high challenge by Matt James had it made any contact. Barrow Raiders, of course, will be one of the favourites for the Northern Rail Cup again this year. Finished 4th in the championship, and pretty strong team under the new coach Gary Schofield. This squad, of course, built by the money of chairman Des Johnson. Chris Thorman pops a little kick in down the line again, and there seems to be some sort of ploy here from the York City Knights that they're going to continue to use the kick down the right wing and the left side of Barrow's defence. Ball fades away into touch, and it'll be Barrow to restart from their own 10 metres. Couple of lonely figures there, braving the elements behind the Barrow posts. Liam Harrison bustling forward. And Richard Fletcher. A couple of players in playing at loose forward today, both Alex Benson and Richard Fletcher. Probably better known as prop forwards, but I think the conditions dictating to the coaches that that's their way they wanted to go today, with the big men throughout the pack. Penalty for a head-high challenge there. Gives Barrow Raiders the opportunity to move this ball downfield and set up the attacking position. Richard Fletcher up into contact and tackled by 3 York City Knights players. Gleeson waits up to play the ball. And another penalty for messing about in the tackle, holding down Ryan Esders, I think, guilty. Matt James almost breaking through the tackles. Matt Gleeson and a juggle from Jamie Thackeray, but he got away with it, and it actually helped him beat a couple of players there. Liam Campbell with the offload to Ned Katic. Looked as though he might find some space there, but then closed down by the Knights' defence. Ball being swung to the left. Jamie Rooney to Zeb Luisi. Martin Osler takes the ball up. Good attacking position here now for the Barrow Raiders. Jamie Rooney, long ball to Liam Harrison, goes for the line, and has he got that ball down? He doesn't, but he offloads to Mark Gleeson, and Mark Gleeson's quick enough to get that ball down in front of the York City Knights fullback James Haynes. Referee Richard Silverwood and his touch judge happy with that, and that's the Barrow Raiders into a 4-0 lead with about 8 minutes on the clock. City Knights having a little conference behind the line there, just an inquest into quite what went wrong, but that ball was moved out very quickly from Jamie Rooney to the left wing, and Liam Harrison is big unit, and knocked 2 or 3 of the Knights players over as he went for the line. Not going to be an easy kick this for Jamie Rooney, trying to kick into this wind. It's been a pretty foul day altogether up here in Barrow today. Lots of rain and strong driving wind. Well, not a bad effort really in the conditions. The ball fading away, but the score after 8 minutes: Barrow Raiders 4, York City Knights 0. Chris Thorman comes up to restart for the City Knights. A familiar kicking tee these days, and just making 1 or 2 little adjustments to it. Drills that one into the ground, and it bounces up over Katic, and there's a real kerfuffle there in the Barrow defence, trying to see who the culprits were between them. It went clean over Ned Katic, eluded Richard Fletcher, who tipped it backwards, and then the young winger Mark Dixon spilled the ball out for the knock-on. So an excellent restart for the York City Knights, and gives them a decent position here to set up an attack. John Presley feeds the scrum, takes the ball to Chris Thorman. James Haynes in support. Brought to ground by the Barrow defence. Jack Lee and Ben Jones, the prop, signed from Harlequins during the close season. Makes some ground, but then is driven back by a combination of Mark Gleeson and Ned Katic. Chris Thorman looking to see what his options are. Goes left. Jack Lee. And an untidy pass, and here's a break now. This is Liam Campbell, he's away. Into the York City Knights half of the field. Great offload to Andy Ballard. Ballard's going for the line. This looks as though it could well be a try for the Barrow Raiders. And finally brought down by John Davis. Gets 2 or 3 pats on the back from his teammates there, who looked as though the Barrow Raiders were going to go in for a try there and increase their lead, but good cover defence eventually from the Knights. Save the day. I think that's probably been deemed a knock-on, and it should be York City Knights head and feed from the scrum. It is indeed, so a narrow squeak for the visitors. James Haynes again. A very good game in the Championship 1 playoff final. Big challenge coming in from Matt James there on Alex Benson, and Benson was alive to it. He could see what was coming, and probably James came off the worst of the two in that challenge. Nathan Massey. Working well, the Castleford Tigers prop there. He's on dual registration with the Knights. Thorman once more with another kick, which takes Barrow right back to their own 2 or 3 metres from the line. That ball went into touch, so Barrow will be restarting on their own 10-metre line with a scrum. Liam Campbell to Liam Harrison. Takes some bringing to ground, this guy. And there's winger Mark Dixon coming in for a little bit of work. He's a former amateur player with Ulverston Rugby League. And Ned Katic, a far more experienced individual. Played for 5 seasons in the NRL with Cronulla and Sydney Roosters, and also played in the NRL Grand Final. Jamie Rooney to Andy Ballard. He's an elusive runner at the best of times and quite happy to take the defensive line on. But that offload didn't go to hand. And once more, I think that'll be deemed a knock-on. It's actually the turnover. It was the 6th tackle. Important to retain possession today and get repeat sets if possible. Jack Lee goes left to Johnny Presley, and there's John Davis coming in on the angled run, the second row. Nathan Massey offloads to Jack Lee. He runs straight into his opposite number, Mark Gleeson. And a bit of help from Jamie Thackeray. Chris Thorman. Little show and go, but the Barrow Raiders defence didn't fall for that one. Here's Dwayne Stroffer. Tries the kick through, but it always looked, with the wind behind it, always looked as though that ball was going to go over the dead ball line. And a Barrow restart on the 20. Mark Gleeson to Ned Katic, gets that ball away very quickly there, and here's Mark Dixon making progress down the wing. Offloads to Mark Gleeson. He's held on the York City Knights 40. Liam Campbell to Matt James. Tackled by Chris Thorman. Jamie Rooney again goes left to Martin Osler. Last tackle here, and it's Jamie Rooney. Grubber kick through, testing the York City Knights defence. Dave Sutton collects well, but don't think he's going to get out of there. 4 Barrow Raiders tacklers there, and a good chase from Barrow. I liked to what Jamie Rooney was doing, and Dave Sutton, with no chance, did collect the ball very well, but couldn't get out of his own in-goal area. And this will be a repeat set for Barrow. Drop out from under the posts. Chris Thorman restarts. There's Liam Campbell there, happy to let the ball hit him on the chest and then offload, and Barrow trying to set up the position where they can add to this 4-0 scoreline. Jamie Rooney going to the right. Andy Ballard, the fullback, up in support. Of course, no Gary Broadbent today, the veteran of so many Barrow Raiders campaigns. And good work from the York City Knights defence, forcing the Barrow player into touch. That was Ned Katic. He's got something to say about it. Obviously, giving Mr. Silverwood the opinion that he felt he was dragged out and it should have been a penalty to the Barrow Raiders, but penalty's actually gone the other way. Coming up to the 20-minute mark, it's been pretty dour stuff up to now. We expected it to be a forward battle. That looks like a loss of possession from the York City Knights, so Barrow have got the chance here to move forward once more. Jamie Thackeray bounces a couple of tackles off. Here's Jamie Rooney, and the ball knocked down by Danny Wilson, but still going. And James Nixon goes over in the corner. The ball knocked down into attempted interception by Dave Sutton, but he simply knocked the ball to the ground, and obviously as soon as the Barrow Raiders player picked that up, Richard Silverwood was going to wave play on. James Nixon out there hugging the left touchline, collected the ball, and he's very, very quick and went over for his first try of this new 2011 season. That increases the Barrow Raiders' lead to 8 points to 0, with the kick to come from Jamie Rooney, even more difficult than his first one. Kicking this from a very, very tight angle as well. And once more, as the touch judges' flags show, that ball drifting away on the wind. So 8-0 it remains. York City Knights next week will face Featherstone in the Northern Rail Cup. Featherstone Rovers, they got their campaign off to a handy start on Friday evening with a 54 points to 10 win over Doncaster. Thorman goes trying to repeat what he did last time, drills the ball into the floor, but I think probably Ned Katic was expecting that this time and very competent in the way he took that ball. Thackeray up into contact, but swamped really by three York City Knights tacklers. Gleeson again, little scoop from the dummy half position. Seb Luisi waits, and Rooney again, looking for the kick. Another one that changes direction on the wind, but gains Barrow a few yards. And the York City Knights have a lot of work to do to progress downfield from here. All seems pretty convivial out there. It seems to be sharing a bit of a laugh and a joke with the front rows, does Richard Silverwood. Ryan Nesda's a cute little offload there to Danny Wilson. Here's Dwayne Stroffer, signed from Bradford Bulls during the close season. Ryan Esda's driving the ball forward, still going. All a bit messy. Chris Thorman again, the grubber kick, and once more down into that Barrow left-hand corner. Ball fades away into touch. Barrow once more will... I think Chris Thorman's trying to tire these Barrow forwards out, turning them round and making them do the hard yards back up the field. Once more the winger comes in for a little bit of work. Made very few yards there at all and held by Matt Gar's side. Ballard a bit more success there as he drives forward from fullback. Richard Fletcher to Katic. Once more that quick ball from Katic, but an interception there. Nathan Massey, as the pass was thrown inside, and pretty haphazard that pass. Massey was alive to it. John Davis cut down by a good tackle there. That was Liam Campbell, the halfback, Barrow Raiders halfback, making a good challenge. Decent field position again for the visitors. Here's John Presley. Didn't quite get that ball where he wanted it, but Chris Thorman and Ryan Esder's overrunning that ball. So once more, an attacking foray from the York City Knights comes to nothing. Gleeson again to Jamie Thackeray, big ex-Great Britain prop, offloads, and there's an injury there. One of the Knights players has gone down. It looks like Dwayne Stroffer, injured in the challenge, I think. Not sure there whether Jamie Thackeray didn't get pulled out for leading with the forearm, but Dwayne Stroffer, the York City Knights centre, looks as though he's in quite some pain. It's either an elbow or shoulder injury, but as physio Johnny Trumbull attends to him, it seems to be the elbow that's causing him the problem. First real chance for one or two of these players to have a breather, other than the two scores that Barrow have put on the board. Score still Barrow Raiders 8, York City Knights 0. York City Knights have a ready-made replacement on the bench in Lee Waterman, their top scorer from last year. And if it should be that Stroffer has to go off, then he would fill in nicely in the centre berth. The way that shirt's been pulled up over the arm, I don't think we're going to see too much more of the former Bradford Bulls player. Gets a good round of applause from the crowd as he goes off, which is traditional in rugby league. Chris Thorman restarting with the ball into the scrum, pops the ball up for City Knights fullback James Haynes. Jack Lee looked a real suspicion of a forward pass there to Nathan Massey, but the officials didn't manage to call it. John Presley to John Davis. Confirmation there that Lee Waterman is on the field, replacing Dwayne Stroffer. John Presley to Chris Thorman. Chris Thorman, little inside ball to James Haynes, but again this Barrow defence has looked pretty firm, pretty solid. Chris Thorman again. Another reverse pass to John Presley. He fires the ball out the back. James Haynes collects. Goes towards the line, but he's not going to be successful trying to go through the big men there. And that's a handover. Just seem to lose their way a little bit there, the York City Knights. Would have been the ideal position for Chris Thorman to put the little grubber kick in. Thackeray fires the ball out to his left to James Nixon. And Matt James, it's all pretty ferocious out there. There's some big hits going in. All perfectly above board, it should be said. Swirling ball. Lee Waterman can't collect that ball, and it's kicked through by James Nixon, and he's tackled without the ball there. That That's got to be a penalty, and it's just whether Richard Silverwood deems that's a professional foul by Danny Wilson. But it certainly looked for all the world as though James Nixon was away and gone there. Lee Waterman failing to collect the ball. Oh, just the penalty to Barrow, but he does set them up nicely. Jamie Thackeray once more, he's been working very, very hard. He was at the Crusaders last year and has come up to Barrow to try and bolster this championship challenge of the Raiders. Brett McDermott, his first time in the action. Gleeson to Osler. Almost, but not quite. Here's Gleeson again. Gleeson to Jamie Rooney to Campbell to Ballard. Ned Katic cuts in and he's through the York City Knights defence. Simply seemed to run all over Matt Garside there. And he's looking pretty groggy off the back of it. But Ned Katic, very, very powerful Australian, and running the right angle there, cutting in back towards the posts. York City Knights newcomers to the championship division, finding it a tough ask. And once more, Rooney is unsuccessful with the kick. Score remains 12-0. Another interchange for the York City Knights there as former Batley Bulldogs player Matt Barlow has joined the fray. Oh, and once more, another absolute howler in the Barrow defence from this time a high hanging kick from Chris Thorman, and it was Liam Campbell who seemed to lose his footing and lost track of the ball completely. So that's Barrow once more having to restart from under their own posts. And that didn't go very far at all, no more than probably 14 or 15 metres collected by Lee Waterman above his head. Mark Barlow to Thorman. Another of the City Knights interchanges there, young star Jack Stearman. Here's Thorman. Thorman gets the ball out wide. Waterman backs himself to go for the line. He's held up. Mark Barlow waits. Everything going through Chris Thorman at the moment. There's Jack Stearman, but again, no way through this Barrow defence. Barlow to Thorman. Thorman to Johnny Presley. Thought about the offload to John Davis, but then cut back inside and lost his footing on this greasy top. Thorman with the grubber kick, that's bobbling and bouncing all over the place and eventually runs dead. Must have come off a York City Knights player last, and Barrow with a 20-metre restart and a chance to clear their lines again. Here's Brett McDermott. Had a testimonial year in 2010. Been a great servant to the Barrow club. Gleeson to Michael Knowles. Very distinctive in that scrum cap of his. Rooney to Ballard, once more in support. Been playing very well up to now, this winger who's converted to full-back today. Has played for full-back before for the likes of Oldham, one of his previous clubs. Jamie Thackeray there, saying that he thought the ball had been stripped, telling referee Silverwood he was having none of it, and Jack Stearman, the York City Knights prop, was quick enough to pick that ball up. He seemed to think he'd got an elbow in the tackle as well. Alex Benson to Mark Barlow. Barlow to Massey. He comes forward again, always hungry for work. Barlow to Thorman. Ryan Estes runs into Zeb Luisi and Michael Knowles, like running into a brick wall there. Just stopped absolutely dead. The ball comes out. And ball stripped there, a penalty to York City Knights. Nathan Massey in front of the post. Matt Barlow goes to the right. Chris Thorman to James Haynes, tries the little step, but Zeb Luisi has him all tangled up in that tackle. Chris Thorman to the left. John Presley to John Davis. Desperate for a score really now, the York City Knights. Is Barlow, pops the ball up for Jack Stearman. He's held by a combination of Knowles and McDermott. Thorman, what can he do this time? Oh, that's a clever little kick. And Danny Wilson, the York City Knights winger, is in the corner. There's a smattering of Knights fans over on the far side of the field, and not too much reaction otherwise, but the ex-Gateshead Thunder winger cleverly read what Chris Thorman was going to do, and there was nobody home in the corner. As long as he collected the ball, he was always going to get that down for the York City Knights' first score of the game. Chris Thorman just teeing this ball up. 36 minutes on the clock. Barrow Raiders 12, York City Knights 4. Thorman shapes to add the conversion. Looked as though he was trying to aim that ball to the left of the post, deliberately hoping that this strong wind would swing it in, but not the case. And still no conversions, no successful kicks in this game. 12 points to 4 and about 4 minutes left until the interval. Young lady there waiting for the kicking tee. She's not actually part of the Barrow Raiders side. Jamie Rooney kicks off again. That one's again going to come back on the wind. And actually went nowhere at all. It did go forward, drifted back on the wind, and dropped back onto the centre spot, more or less where Andy Ballard was stood. Gleeson to Harrison. Once more, just taking quite a deal of putting to ground, the Barrow Raiders centre. Gleeson to Jamie Rooney to Campbell to Michael Knowles. Rooney shouting orders there to his backline, telling him exactly what he wants. Richard Fletcher up into contact, but met by Benson and Barlow. Here's Rooney. Probably a poor option there from the England international. Former Wakefield Wildcats and Featherstone player. Popped the ball straight into the hands of the York City Knights fullback James Haynes, and give him credit for being Johnny on the spot, just in the right position. Danny Wilson, the York City Knights winger, just scored that try, but running into some heavy traffic there. Here's Thorman going for the 40-20. That's a long kick, and that's superb. That's an absolutely superb kick there from Chris Thorman. And the 40-20 is confirmed by referee Silverwood. The York City Knights look to form this scrum really quickly. They've got a couple of minutes left on the clock before the interval to try and add to their 4 points. Johnny Presley puts the ball in. Here's Chris Thorman again. Offloads to Matt Garside. Another ex-Gateshead Thunder player in this squad. Also a Great Britain student international. Chris Thorman to Lee Waterman. Matt Barlow. Jack Stearman goes for the line. Former New Earswick amateur player. Barlow again. Little fumble, but he gets the ball away, and Ryan Esder steps through the gap. May well get over, and he does. So the York City Knights on the board again. There was just a little chink of light between two Barrow players there, and Esders was quick enough to step between, and despite the fact that Andy Ballard hung on to one of his legs, the ex-Harlequins and Hull KR player popped that ball down, and that's a great time to score for the York City Knights. Just before the interval, almost on the hooter. And that's 12 points to 8. Chris Thorman, the easiest conversion of the game really up to now. And he makes no mistake. That takes the score to the Barrow Raiders 12, York City Knights 10. They've come back into this game well, the York City Knights. It was looking pretty bleak at 12 points to 0, but 10 unanswered points in the last 5 minutes has given the scoreboard a much healthier look for the visiting team. Rooney to restart. Ryan Esders eventually regathers, but did lose about 10 metres in the process there as he initially mishandled the ball backwards. Jack Stearman brought to ground. Barlow to Massey. Looked very impressive in the pre-season friendlies for the York City Knights, Mark Barlow, hoping for a new lease of life with his new club. Massey once more. He's had a very good first half for the York City Knights. And as the hooter goes for the end of this first half in the Northern Rail Cup, the score, Barrow Raiders 12, York City Knights 10. Teams back out on the field for the second half. York City Knights out early and have now got to face this strong wind in their faces as they look to overturn the half-time 12-10 deficit. Richard Silverwood passes the ball to Chris Thorman. He'll be having to think about how he's going to put this ball up into this strong wind. Matt Barlow there, I think, considering whether he was going to have to come and hold the ball, but that's not the case. And Chris Thorman gets us underway for the second half. Long, high, hanging kick, which is bound to blow back towards his own team. And collected by Jack Stearman, so York have got possession. Matt Barlow to Nathan Massey. He had a very good first half, the Castleford Tigers prop forward. Barlow to his skipper Benson. And a penalty there for an illegal play of the ball against the York City Knights. So immediately the Barrow Raiders with a chance to clear their lines, which Jamie Rooney does with the kick downfield. Not the greatest of kicks he's ever made, but gained them 10-15 metres or so. Brett McDermott there, held by 3 York City Knights defenders. And Richard Fletcher. trying to work the ball down the left side there, and Martin Osler rumbles them forward another 10 metres or so. Just coming up to the halfway line. Jamie Rooney to Liam Campbell. Ball comes out wide to Ned Katic. It's pretty heavy over on this side of the field with all the rain there's been this morning in Barrow, and a bit of a glue pot just down in front of the touch judge. Tangle there between Matt Garside and Ned Katic. And a few words exchanged to the delight of the Barrow crowd. Gleeson to Rooney. Rooney puts the kick up. Zeb Luisi giving chase. A great take there by Dave Sutton. Took that very well in this strong wind. And Lee Waterman begins progress back up the field for the visitors. Here's Ed Smith, one of the young juniors who's come through the ranks at York City Knights. Newly introduced onto the field. He's been very impressive in the pre-season friendlies and fully deserves his run out today. Barlow to Stearman. Defence is still pretty much on top in this game. Chris Thorman having to get that ball away very quickly. Didn't get the kick in that probably he would have liked, and collected by the Barrow winger Mark Dixon. Here's Ballard again, very distinctive as he makes his way into the line from fullback. And Richard Fletcher there gaining some really good yards for the Barrow Raiders. That would please the home crowd. Gleeson to Luisi. Luisi to Harrison on another great angled run the centre. Gets the ball out wide, and James Nixon goes over for the try for the Barrow Raiders. Once more that man, Liam Harrison, making the damaging run. And Nixon out on the wing using his pace to get in and collect 4 more points for the Barrow Raiders. They now increase their lead to 16 points to 10. Just 4 minutes of the second half elapsed when that try was scored, and here's Jamie Rooney to try and add the 2 points from the conversion. And the touch judges signal that is the case. 18 points to 10 now to Barrow Raiders. York City Knights restart. Ball collected by Andy Ballard, once more hanging up there in this wind. Martin Osler trying to get the Barrow Raiders moving again with the ball to James Nixon, but he's tackled very well by young Ed Smith there. Touch judge keeping a close eye on what's going on, making sure there's no funny business in the tackle. In the meantime, Brett McDermott brought to ground. Swinging this ball around at the moment, the Barrow Raiders, and some good handling work. Zeb Luisi with the inside pass to Andy Ballard, but collared in the end by John Davis for the City Knights. And here's Richard Fletcher again. He's had a very good game today, playing at loose forward for Barrow. Gleeson to Rooney, on to Michael Knowles. Ned Katic cuts back inside, there's a little gap there, Ballard. And another chance there, probably gone begging for the Barrow Raiders. Andy Ballard threw that ball off to the left. Players were in support, but just couldn't gather that ball in. And that's going to be the handover. Richard Fletcher there wipes a bit of mud from his eye as Lee Waterman Gets the visitors back underway. Stearman once again looking for work and making a good 10 metres for the York City Knights. Here's Davis. Little hint of a forward pass again maybe, but again not called by the officials. Thorman drills the ball into the ground. Ballard chases back, collects it competently, and then the chasing York players collar him. That's Matt Garside and Johnny Presley bringing him to ground. Gleeson to McDermott. Weather not improving here, still very grey and overcast. Rain just about managing to keep off. Harrison again. This time the offload goes over James Nixon's shoulder and into touch. And you can see the strength of the wind there if you look at that touch judge's flag. Chris Thorman this time feeding the scrum for York. And James Haynes, the full-back. That's a big challenge again from Michael Knowles, the former Castleford and Gateshead player. And he's in there again at the tackle. Eventually bringing Nathan Massey to ground with the help from two of his teammates. Chris Thorman. And skipper Alex Benson there makes a few yards for the visitors. Barrow to Thorman. Thorman coming left. Drops the ball onto his foot. Johnny Presley suns in that ball. And Andy Ballard was good enough to get there quickly. Has to hack the ball behind his own dead ball line, so this will be a repeat set for the York City Knights. Barrow Raiders having to restart from under their own posts. Pitch is holding up pretty well in these conditions. It looked as though it might cut up pretty badly. A real howler of a mistake there from James Haynes, the York City Knights fullback, seemed to take his eye off the ball, the former Hull KR player. Probably trying to decide quite what he was going to do with it coming back, and knocked on. Possession back to Barrow Raiders on the York City Knights 40. Referee Silverwood not happy that the Barrow scrum was formed properly. Tells them to get in a bit and bind a little better this time. This is Luisi to Katic. And another bullet pass from Ned Katic. Not sure whether that look on his face was frustration on his own part, or whether it was a frustration that his winger wasn't quite in the right place to accept that pass. We seem to be short of a ball at the moment. Oh no, that's not the case. Presley's got the ball. Richard Silverwood just having a little word with his touch judge. Presley to feed the scrum. Thorman tries a little show and go, but Luisi and Osler were ready for that one. Massey again seems to have got through a mountain of work today. And John Davis. Good little break there from the second row. Another one who's played very well for the York City Knights. Massey, second carry in this set of 6. This is the last tackle. Mark Barlow to Johnny Presley, thinks about the kick, changes his mind and then gets the ball to Thorman. He chips it in to see whether the York players could get onto it. Crowd thinking that might have been a high challenge on Andy Ballard there by Dave Sutton, but Richard Silverwood was right on the spot and he didn't think so. Now that certainly did look like a high challenge. That was Dave Sutton again. And this time on the receiving end was Liam Harrison. He gets up and shrugs it off, and Jamie Rooney pumps the penalty forward to take Barrow Raiders downfield again. Still 18 points to 0 in the Cumbrian side's favour. And Martin Osler to drive forward. Some of the crowd there looking very well wrapped up against the elements of this Cumbrian weather. And another penalty. Lifting the legs in the tackle, that one. I think Mark Barlow was probably the guilty party. Gleeson to Fletcher. 30 metres from the York City Knights line. McDermott goes into the 10. Here's Gleeson, promising position for the Barrow Raiders. Gleeson goes for the line. Doesn't quite make it. McDermott to Rooney. Rooney with a deep pass to Campbell, an even deeper pass that goes behind most of his players. Andy Ballard once more, alert to it, collects the ball and then offloads to Mark Dixon, who's scragged by Lee Waterman. Luisi looking for an opening. Nothing there. Good defensive line once again from the Knights. Gleeson to Knowles. Knowles to Katic. Looked again for the angled run, but the door closed on him. Gleeson to Campbell. Campbell to Rooney. Rooney to Martin Osler. Don't think they'll stop him, and they don't. Breaks through the tackler, Dave Sutton there, to go in for the 5th try for the Barrow Raiders today, and now takes them out to a score of 22 points to 10. And it's beginning to look pretty grim for the visitors. Floodlights starting to peer through the gloom as Jamie Rooney lines this kick up. Tries to drift it in on the wind and is successful. Good kick there from the left-hand touchline. And the score now, Barrow Raiders 24, York City Knights 10. Around about 15 minutes to play in this game, and certainly the York City Knights will have to score next if they're going to have any chance of taking anything out of this game. Everybody jumps for that ball, and it bobbles around, eventually ends up in the hands of Liam Campbell for the Barrow Raiders. And Jamie Thackeray now back in the action again and runs very quickly onto that ball, meets the ball at pace and helps him gain 10 metres or so. Matt James, good run by the Welsh international prop. And Liam Harrison again, he's been a handful all day for the York City Knights defence. Barrow moving this ball up much quicker now, and they look a better side for it. Jamie Thackeray again. Bumped off by Chris Thorman, and Ed Smith makes the tackle. Jamie Rooney to Liam Campbell. Liam Campbell, little show and goal. Thought about the offload to Michael Knowles. Brought to ground, last tackle now. Andy Ballard, what's he going to do with this one? Goes to Zeb Luisi, he drives for the line. Offload to Andy Ballard, ball still alive, well kept alive by Barrow. But finally, York making that telling tackle for the handover, and again it was Ed Smith that made the challenge. Danny Wilson with the bandage on there. Spent some time off the field having that head injury attended to, but now back in the action. Lee Waterman waits for the ball for York. Runs into Matt James, and then Martin Osler completes the tackle. Here's Jack Lee, also back from the bench to try and inspire York forward in this last 10 minutes or so. That's Lee to Ryan Esders. Ryan Esders well held. Chris Thorman thumps that ball downfield. It's hanging, but Ballard again has been very competent at full-back today. Took that ball confidently and made 10 metres back. Here's Harrison again, Liam Harrison. Liam Harrison looks a potential Super League player to me. Breaks tackles every time he runs with the ball. And Martin Osler looking as though they may be tiring a bit here, the York City Knights. Barrow Raiders making ground at will. Jamie Thackeray comes to the hard yards, 5 metres from the line. But held up. Gleeson to Rooney. Rooney to Campbell. Swinging the ball to the right. Giving this ball plenty of air, the Barrow Raiders. Fletcher breaks free, but is then collared by 2, 3, 4 Knights players. 2 metres short of this line. Ballard to Luisi, puts the kick in, and there was always too much on that one. Ball running dead. And a chance to relieve some pressure for the City Knights. Restart very quickly. Barlow offloads to Sutton, the former St Helens player. And Jack Lee to Nathan Massey. More good yards made by him. And a little touch of cramp there. Not surprising, he's really put some graft in today. Matt Barlow takes over and plays the ball to Jack Lee, and there's Ben Jones. Spent some time with Leeds Rhinos, and I think that's been awarded for a high challenge, as indeed. Ben Jones just wiping away at his face, making sure there's no red stuff coming out. Chris Thorman trying to set the position for the Knights to get back on the scoreboard again. John Davis. Managed to stay on his feet. Referee Silverwood shouting held. And that's offside, I think, against this Barrow defence up too quickly. Jack Lee to Chris Thorman. Dances across the line, still dancing across the line. Chris Thorman eventually runs into Zeb Luisi, who brings him to ground. Here's Lee, goes for a little scoop for the line from dummy half, but once more the Barrow defence holds firm. Thorman again. And once more, case of the player just taking his eye off the ball. John Presley thumps the ball into the ground in frustration. Just had a little glance up to see what might be in front of him, and in that instant the ball was on the floor. Good opportunity spurned there by the York City Knights. Time running away from the visitors, still 24 points to 10. Some pretty sloppy tackling there. Matt James made probably 10 more yards than he should have done. And Jamie Rooney goes to pin the York City Knights back deep in their own half. This is Danny Wilson. He replaced James Haynes at fullback. James Haynes has gone off injured and conceding the penalty there for the high tackle. Barrow Raiders. elementary error really, because they made really good ground with that kick. Chris Thorman with the kick into touch for the Knights. Here's Davis again, still hungry for that ball. Been as good as anybody today for the York City Knights. Jack Lee to Ben Jones, he drives forward well, always runs onto the ball at pace. Thorman just trying to find the key to this Barrow Raiders defence once more, see if he can unlock it for his teammates. Johnny Presley to Wilson. Held by a combination of Matt James and Richard Fletcher. Presley again, looking busy, and that looked like a penalty to me. The ball then spins away out onto the left-hand side, and Lee Waterman's touched the ball down, but Richard Silverwood has actually awarded a penalty to Barrow, which must be for offside. But there did seem to be a professional foul on Johnny Presley there. He dropped the ball onto his foot and then was obstructed by a Barrow Raiders defender. Matt Gleeson to Jamie Thackeray once more, running from deep. Object lessoning how to run onto the ball from a prop. James with the attention of 4 York City Knights defenders. Good handoff there by Mark Gleeson on Mark Barlow. He certainly felt that one, but still succeeded in bringing the Barrow Raiders player to ground. Harrison again to Nixon. Nowhere to go this time for the winger. Tries to cut back inside and does so. Turner pace gets him through the defence. Still going, collared by Danny Wilson. Just managed to get hold of his shirt, and Ben Jones completed the tackle. And Barrow Raiders have now spilled the ball. That was Liam Campbell. Beats the floor in frustration, then complains to the referee that perhaps it wasn't his fault after all. But nonetheless, it's going to be the York City Knights back in possession. 10 minutes or so to go in this game. Still 24 points to nil in favour of the Cumbrian side. Chris Thorman feeds the scrum, and Dave Sutton, the winger, comes looking for some work. Makes a few yards. Johnny Presley to Matt Garside. He's had a pretty quiet game, the centre. Been doing very well lately for the Great Britain student side. Also played for Northumberland University. Ben Jones again. Jack Lee, good progress being made here by the Knights forwards. That's Jack Stearman. Did very well there to rumble forward with a couple of Barrow defenders in attendance. Chris Thorman goes to the air again with this ball. Ballard's looking for it. Taken by Ned Katic. Just a hint there that Andy Ballard played that ball first, and if that had been the case, then Katic would have been offside. Here's Mark Dixon. Comes through that first impact from Matt Garside, but then held by 2 Knights players. Reverse pass to Jamie Thackeray. His debut today in a fully competitive game for the Barrow Raiders, and has played very well. Loss of possession there by Barrow, and that enables the York City Knights to resume in Barrow territory. A lonesome cry of "Come on York" there from the crowd. Here's John Presley to John Davis. Davis offloads to Jack Lee. Here's Garside. Trying to jink past Ned Katic, but the Australian's too good for him there. Presley again swings the ball wide to Thorman. Thorman on to Barlow. Barlow to Ed Smith. Did very well to take that ball. Tackled by Jamie Rooney. Here's Barlow again. Barlow to Thorman. Thorman to Danny Wilson. Scruffy little offload there, and the ball went to ground, and Jamie Thackeray was the first one to react for Barrow. Barrow back in possession, and this game's running away now from time is running away from the York City Knights in their attempt to try and get something out of this Northern Rail Cup tie. Martin Osler once more breaking a Knights tackle. Players must be getting pretty tired now. They've had a pretty grueling 70 minutes out here on this heavy pitch. Rooney's decided to save his forward some work and thumps the ball downfield. Ball goes dead, and it'll be a York City Knights restart on the 20. Referee Silverwood not happy with the quick restart. John Davis there looking as fresh as he did in the first minute. And here's Nathan Massey. Both players in this week from at York from Castleford Tigers. Chris Thorman offloads to Mark Barlow. Mark Barlow with the little reverse pass to Ed Smith coming in on the angle. But once more the Barrow Raiders defence good enough to stop him. Thorman again. He's had a good game for the Knights today. John Presley once more drops that ball onto his foot, and this time he does get the penalty. That was Richard Fletcher, I think, that was the guilty party who knocked him over. Nathan Massey goes forward and didn't really react there. The Barrow defence is still going. Eventually brought down by a combination of Gleeson and Alex Benson cuts back towards the post. He's held a metre short. Good chance for the Knights. Lee to Thorman. Oh, floats the long pass. Here's Dave Sutton. He's gone past the winger. He's inside. And he goes in for the try. He's going to actually run round under the post. So the York City Knights, to the joy of Johnny Presley and Matt Garside, who go up to congratulate Dave Sutton. But the Knights have finally unlocked this Barrow defence. It was a long ball from Chris Thorman which was the key to that. And that takes the score to Barrow Raiders 24, York City Knights 14, with just 9 minutes left. This conversion to take the Knights within 8 points of the Barrow score. Chris Thorman, and right-footed, adds on the 2 points. Barrow Raiders 24, York City Knights 16. Not in any great hurry to get this game restarted, the Raiders. Not sure what coach Gary Schofield will think of the Raiders' performance today. They've shown some very bright periods in their game, but the rest of the time it's been pretty ordinary stuff, really. Jamie Rooney thumps the ball downfield, confidently collected by Nathan Massey. Slips past the first tackle, slips past the second challenge, and again, very good response from the York City Knights. Possibly just sniffing that they've got a little chance left in this game yet. Jack Lee, oh, lovely little show and go from the ex-Featherstone hooker. Ballard saw it from a long way back and was there to meet him with the challenge. Danny Wilson trying to weave his way through this Barrow defence. Thorman once more. Last tackle. Thorman will go to the air with the kick. He does indeed. Swings out this side, and Mark Dixon under pressure from Lee Waterman, who I feel may well have been pinged for offside here. Actually, the ball's coming back, the touch. Just trying to see what decision's been given. I think the touch judge is maybe on the field of play here. He is indeed. Let's see what decision is given. Penalty to York. And a late challenge on Chris Thorman after he got rid of that kick. So once more that sets the York City Knights up in a handy field position to attack this Barrow line. Jack Lee to Nathan Massey. Lee waits again. He's looked very lively since he came back on for his second stint. Thorman, good pass to Danny Wilson. Takes another shot up around the head. He's had some one or two tackles up around his ear holes today. Alex Benson buried under Barrow defenders. Here's Presley. Presley again. Matt Barlow waits, goes to Presley. Presley puts the little kick in again. The ball runs dead, but I think there may well have been a Barrow hand in there. There was indeed. It was Mark Dixon covering that Johnny Presley kick. So a repeat set coming from the City Knights, and they keep putting the pressure on as this game goes towards the 80 minutes. Just confirmation of the attendance there. 1,300 people at this Northern Rail Cup game here at Craven Park. Shouts a forward pass there as that ball landed in the hands of Ben Jones. Jack Lee again. Lee, Thorman with the reverse pass. Matt James making the tackle on Mark Barlow. Here's Thorman again. Thorman to Presley. What will he try this time? Just pops the ball up for John Davis on the angled run. This ball's definitely coming left. You can see where Thorman's going. Thorman on the ball now. Drops it onto his foot. Mark Dixon collects the ball, but I think this may well be a penalty again to the York City Knights. It is indeed. And that's once more an illegal challenge on Johnny Presley. Tackle without the ball. He was hunting that kick from Thorman. In the meantime, we've got one of the Barrow players down with cramp, and that's Mark Dixon, the winger. 5 metres away from the Barrow line, this penalty. Matt Barlow to Jack Lee. Jack Lee to Ben Jones. He loses his footing on this, what's becoming a slippy surface. Thorman once again to Wilson. Wilson to Ryan Esders, goes for the line and is pulled down just short. Jamie Rooney hanging on for his shirt for all he was worth. Danny Wilson tries a little step past the defenders there, but couldn't make it over the line. Esders to Lee, to Thorman. Thorman to Ben Jones, and the ex-Harlequins prop puts the ball down on the deck for the knock-on, and this should be relief for the Barrow Raiders. Been a good contest here today, and a much closer contest than many people expected. Andy Ballard been one of the men of the match for the Barrow Raiders. Been very good in what he's done, stepping in for Gary Broadbent, who's been missing today. Mark Gleeson again. He's put in a good stint for the Raiders. And that's Nathan Mossop newly on the field, the utility player who spent some time with Workington, also played a bit for Leeds Metropolitan University when he was a student there. Here's Mossop again. Now tries the offload, but that was never going to come off. But it actually hit the Knights player, bounced back into his hands, so referee Silverwood has waved play on. Rooney goes. Big kick. Fielded on his own line by Danny Wilson. Fielded very well, and he makes 10 yards back. Good play by the Gateshead Thunder. Former Gateshead Thunder winger. Ben Jones once again adding some impetus to this York City Knights effort to get down the field and get another score on the board. John Davis makes the break now. Lovely little pass from Johnny Presley. Presley again. Man of the match announced there for Barrow. Richard Fletcher, that's Thorman. Thorman with the kick. And collected by Matty Garside. Garside goes for the line. Ballard's trying to collar him, juggling the ball. Gets it inside to Presley. John Presley goes over, and that looks as though it's going to be a try for the York City Knights. Just 2 minutes left on the clock here as the Knights go in, and the score now: Barrow Raiders 24, York City Knights 20. It was a beautiful little kick from Chris Thorman. Bounced just in front of the Barrow winger James Nixon. And Garside was onto it like a flash, did superbly to get that pass inside to John Presley. Could be forgiven in these circumstances for wondering whether he may be ought to forgo the conversion and just get the game back underway again. As I say, this 2 points, it won't put York in a winning position. It will simply close the gap. And well to the left of the post. Pointing there, telling his players where to go. He's expecting, I think, Barrow to put this ball very deep and make York City Knights come all the way back. Barrow Raiders 24, York City Knights 20. Rooney, and he does kick that ball pretty deep. Presley's onto it. Presley to Massey. He's still going. Time ticking away, and time has actually ticked away. There's the final hooter. A valiant effort today in this Northern Rail Cup game by the York City Knights. But in the end, the Barrow Raiders have won the day by 24 points to 20. Handy little bonus point for the York City Knights. And some excellent performances from Dave Woods' side today. I think he'll be pretty pleased by what he's seen from his side. But it's the Barrow Raiders who win.